Hello everyone, thank you for stopping by and checking out this video. So as you guessed by the title, this is a small reflection video on a video game I had to make. For a bit of backstory, I go to a college and I took a game design class. Now in that class we had to, make a video game. We were given the task of making any physics-based game using Blender. Now the catch to that is that we had to use the logic bricks inside of Blender. And so I ended up creating what you see here on the screen. I went through a bunch of different ideas, tested different things out, and along the way things didn't work. I was going to make shuffleboard at one point, that didn't go down. I wanted to make air hockey, but the physics for the game just would not work. The puck would not fall down, or if it did fall down, it would like blow up or something. The physics engine just did not work for me for doing things like that. I don't know if it was my computer, I don't know if my objects were too small, or if my settings and the physics weren't right, but ultimately things like that just didn't work. So in the end, I decided to make a physics game where you have a rotating log, or I guess in this case a rectangle, and you just jump over it. That's it. Gravity is the physics in this game. You jump and you fall. Both of these things have rigid bodies attached to them, and the object you're jumping over, which is a log, I guess, just kind of spins in a circle continuously. There are a lot of problems with this project. I will admit, I couldn't figure out where a lot of this went wrong. Now, if you look at the game, it's obviously not a pretty game. The graphics are really bad. The background is a plain plain green square, rectangle rather, and it doesn't have much added to it. The log is it's supposed to be blue, but because of the lighting in the game, it turned to a yellowish color. And if you look at the block, what you're playing as, the red square, you'll notice that actually isn't all that affected by lighting, in the same sense that the log is. The log changed colors because of the lighting. The square is still red. Now, I had attached a texture to the square to help with the lighting. However, the square just decided to completely ignore the lighting, and it didn't have any shading. It had nothing to it. It just looked like a flat rectangle. And I didn't want it to look like a flat rectangle, so I just took the textures off because they were just ignoring the lighting. Again, I don't know if that's just because my computer is acting up or if the Blender game engine is acting weird. I hadn't encountered that before, so I assume it was something on my end that I just couldn't figure out. You'll also notice how there's no audio. Now, this is for two reasons. A, I cut the audio out of the video that you're seeing on screen, and that is because the audio wasn't working. You could hear my voice, you could hear me clicking on the keyboard, but you couldn't actually hear the jumping sound effect. And that is another problem with this. For whatever reason, after I exported the game, the jumping sound effect stopped working. You click the spacebar and you jump, and when you jump, you can hear like a beep sound. That just completely went away after I exported it. I don't know what happened to it. I exported it multiple times trying to bring it back, and nothing happened. I'd like to know what happened at one point, but I ultimately was never able to figure out why that happened or what happened to it. Now, you have noticed that in the start and end screens, they look a bit plain as well. Interestingly enough, the start screen where it says start game or jump exclamation point, press K to start, that is red. It's 100% red. And the lighting that I use for that scene is a white light, so it shouldn't be affecting the color of the red plane or whatever, but it does. I don't know why. That doesn't happen in the actual game engine. It just happens when I exported it. It's another export bug looking thing. The game over screen is the exact color I wanted it to be. It's a blue looking color, which is really nice. I wanted these colors to be more flat, and I wanted the lighting to bounce off more, which is why the green looks like it is, and the red looks like it is, and the log looks like it is, that bluish yellow looking color. The lighting, I couldn't get it to work right. I did manage to add what I would call bounce lighting. Blender doesn't have bounce lighting by default, so what I did was I added a hemi-light opposite of the sun, or where I wanted to cast the more light in, and that helped and brighten up some of the areas. As you can see, it didn't brighten up all of the areas. Too many hemi lights. You end up overlighting the scene and it looks really, really bad. I tried finding a balance between the two. I raised the sun a bit, lowered it, and did the same thing with the hemi light. Ultimately, this is the best lighting I was able to get on my computer. My computer is also very hot at the moment, so that could have been a problem as well. Overall, this game, I enjoy the game. It's a very simple game. I personally enjoy simple games. I play games like Alto's Adventure, games like what's the other ones, like Cookie Clicker, Hero Clickers, casual games. Neko Atsume is for one. Games where I can just sit there and just tap at the screen and just get lost in playing the game. Don't really have to think about much. I love playing first-person shooters like Halo or Fortnite, but casual games is what I ultimately enjoy doing the most because they're really simple, really easy to get into, and you can just sit there and you can relax. You don't really have to stress about a lot of things, and I like that a lot, which is why this game is really simple. It's just an easy game to relax to if I had done it right. I think it's not a bad game, like I said earlier. It needs a lot of polishing, and I couldn't figure out where to start. I'm not an artist by any means whatsoever. I am a game designer, not even a game designer. What am I saying? I am a programmer at heart. Not a very good one, but I am a programmer at heart nonetheless. Graphics are certainly not my forte. I have dabbled in art and I'm not good at it. And so it obviously shows in this where I am good and where I'm not good. I was also not good at using the Blender logic bricks. I am more of a programmer orientated person, so I would have much rather liked to program using Python. However, that was not part of the assignment, so I was only able to wrap my head around so much using the logic bricks. Things I could do better with this game, I can clearly see a lot better. Pardon me. I could have managed to work more on the lighting for sure. That's like the biggest thing. Fix the graphics and the visual appeal of the game. Everything looks really flat and two-dimensional. The green background is obviously not a very good color. I wanted things to contrast. The red was going to be contrasting with the green, which would be contrasting with the blue. However, really, red's complementary color rather, is a green. So maybe I should have made the log green and the background blue. But ultimately, I really didn't. And again, the log changed colors with the lighting, so the complementary aspect I was going for didn't really even matter in the end. I was like, if I look close enough, I think I can see like the lighting affecting the square, but ultimately, again, I really can't. It's really, really hard to see. I would have put more detail into the log. Now that I think about it, it really wouldn't have been that difficult to make it an actual log. Like, I could have just taken a cylinder, dropped its vertices down to like 8 or so, given it a wooden texture. If I think about it, I could have done that, and I hadn't done that at the time. Now, the textures were not loading up either. I don't know what was going on with that. But because of the problem I have with the square, I didn't want to try and load in more textures, give things more of a texture look, because I was afraid the lighting wasn't going to work right, and I'd be left with a very flat looking game. Although, if we're being honest, a flat looking game might look a bit better, but I didn't want to risk breaking the game at the same time. Other things that could have done better is the counter. I don't like how the counter system works right now. You can just press space and it just increments. I would have ideally liked to have the log or the player headed box and have that trigger the counting, so that way you can't just spam space. But again, I'm using the logic bricks, and when I looked into it, I didn't find anything for that in particular. I couldn't find anything mashing nodes together myself. There's probably a way, and I just didn't locate it. The jumping physics is a bit broken in the game. When the sound did work, it didn't always play, and when you jump, sometimes you get stuck to the ground. That doesn't make any sense as to why you would get stuck to the ground, but you do in fact get stuck to the ground, and getting out is a bit of a pain. You can get out, but it will affect your gameplay if you do get stuck. Like, if you look around the 1 or 2 points before the end of the game, you will see that I did like hesitate for a second. I in fact did get stuck on the ground at that point. I don't know what causes it, but I also don't know how to fix it. The text I would have liked to have made a bit more stylish. I don't know really how to edit the text. I just recently learned how to type with the text. If you look at the menu, that's how I did that. I tabbed into edit mode, or edit mode into Blender, and I was able to type there, but I don't know how to stylize the text. I didn't want to do anything too fancy with it on the off chance that I broke the code I already had. Overall thoughts, I should have given myself more time. I didn't give myself enough time. I went through too many ideas. I didn't just sit down and come up with a simple one. I wanted to create something really, really cool, really, really interesting, something unique, but I didn't have the technical experience to do that. So I stumbled and fumbled and went from one idea to the next until I started running out of time, and I ended up with this, which I'm happy with the end result. I didn't give myself enough time, enough thought to really put together a solid game. If I could do it again using Blender, would I? Probably not. I would like to remake this game, but more in a 2D fashion and not use Blender. Blender is, in my opinion, really great for modeling if you can get around the learning curve, but it's not really great for games. I've seen some very beautiful, impressive made things in Blender, but I'm a person who likes to use software that specializes in something. If I wanted to make games, I would use a game engine. I wouldn't use a game engine in Blender. I'd use something like Unity or Unreal with a dedicated game engine. I'd even use something like Pygame or XNA. It's a dedicated game framework. If I'd wanted to model, I'd use something like Maya or Blender, like just something that's dedicated to it. I do believe that, again, like I said earlier, there are a lot of beautiful things made in Blender with the game engine. It's just, I don't think I would ever remake this game in Blender. I would use Blender to make assets, but I would not make the core mechanics or any of the mechanics for that fact in Blender. As for any final thoughts, I have to say, this game definitely needs a lot of improving. There are a lot of mistakes, a lot of little things that if I just had more time, if I gave myself more time, settled on an idea sooner than later, I would have probably had a better outcome. I also didn't write any of the ideas I had down that I wanted to do for this game. I kind of just worked off the fly, started making things as I went along, which it doesn't really sound like all that much. It's literally just a number, a text, a number cube, and a rectangle, so it doesn't sound like I didn't add that much, and I was just kind of being lazy about it. But there were things I wanted to add, but I didn't add them for one reason or another, or like I wanted to make the log an actual log looking thing, and I had completely forgotten I was going to do that until, well, it was already too late and I already made the game. And I didn't want to go back, and I didn't want to break it because then I'd have to add logic to it all over again, and that's just not something I wanted to do. So yeah, there's a lot of improvements this game could use, and I don't know, maybe one day I may go back in Blender. I don't really think I will to go back and fix it. If anything, I'll just remake it in something more powerful, more easier to use. Yeah, there's not much else I can really say about this. So on that note, I guess I'll end off the video here. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it so much. If you guys do like the game, I'll put a link for you to download it. The game's it's an interesting game, but the link will be down in the description if you want to play the game. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.